All right, y'all, welcome back. It's time to tier the Eastern Conference. We have 6 tiers in this conference, and we are not going to waste any time. But before I start, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell because I will be putting out videos of individual teams and previewing their seasons. Gonna try a little bit of a different format from the traditional season preview. Gonna try it, see if it sticks or not for next year. That's why we try shit, right? But let's not waste any more time. It's gonna be the same thing like last video in the Western Conference tier list. I'm going to name the tier, then I'm going to reveal all the teams that I have in that tier at once, give a brief explainer about why I have the order the way I have it. If you're looking for more in-depth explanations on each team, I won't be able to provide you that in this video because if I went long on every team, as I discovered re-recording the Western Conference tier list a few times, this video would be an hour, and I want to keep this video short. So, without further ado, let's start with the first tier. First tier I have the defending champs tier. That's self-explanatory. There's only one team in this tier. That is the Boston Celtics. I actually think at this point they are my favorite to repeat. Now, I have picked a repeat champion the last few seasons and have been absolutely dead wrong. But if you look at how this team is constructed, the players they have, the type of style of play that they have on both ends of the court, I just think the Celtics, one, are the clear favorite in the Eastern Conference, even though I think the teams that I have in this next tier below them can give them a series or maybe have a shot at upsetting them in a potential playoff series. I think this team is the favorite. But two, I just think they're the favorite in general to win the title, and I think they match up well with a lot of the Western Conference teams. The team is just deep. They have their style of play. It works. So I have the Celtics in this tier. They're going to win 60-plus games, and I don't even think there's any doubt about that. All right, the next tier we have is simply titled the East Elite. And there are 3 teams that I think can give the Celtics a series or possibly upset them, and I could definitely see them coming out of the East. You'll see the 3 teams revealed up here. We have the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Milwaukee Bucks. The reason I have the Knicks here first, it was a real toss-up for me between the Sixers and the Knicks. It was really close. I had the Sixers in at one point, but I have the Knicks here because I just love their roster as a playoff roster, how they could switch everything, how versatile they are. Now, the Sixers, of course, I think they have the more high-end talent with the perfect hand-in-glove fit with the big 3 that they have in Philadelphia. I think that's going to go a long way. I am very high on the Sixers team, and I will do an individual video on them as well. They are my team after all. But I just like the Knicks and how they could switch everything and match up well with the Celtics, and Jalen Brunson is just so good. The Mitchell Robinson injury, that is one thing that I do have a concern with when it comes to the Knicks. Their center position depth, really not that good. And I don't know if you could get away with a whole season of playing Julius Randle and OG Anunoby at the 5 exclusively, along with Precious Achiuwa and maybe some Jericho Sims. But if your center depth is that's kind of bad. But everywhere else, I just love this team. I love their first 9 players in their rotation. I even like the fringe signings they made. So I have the Knicks there. And then the Bucks, of course, they have Giannis. Brook Lopez is still good. Chris Middleton showed that he was still good offensively in the playoffs, but had double ankle surgery. Don't know how effective he'll be defensively, but I'm baking in a Damian Lillard bounce back season, another year in a training camp together of Giannis and Dame to get that 2-man game refined, a full training camp under Doc Rivers, and a full staff that he hired, and I will factor that in as an upgrade over Adrian Griffin. Whenever you have at worst, a top 5 player in the world in Giannis, you always have a shot to come out of the East, and you're always a contender. But I'm slightly higher on New York and Philadelphia over Milwaukee, admittedly, because the age thing, I can't get around it. It is a problem, but I think they upgraded their roster on the margins too. So I have the Bucks here in my East Elite tier. Next tier, I have the 3rd tier in the Eastern Conference tier list, the knocking on the door tier. And that means that any of the 3 teams that I have up on the screen, as you could see, in this tier can give the 3 teams Above them in the next tier, the East Elite tier, Absolute Hell and Absolute Hell in the second round, and a possible upset in the second round depending on how the seeding shakes out. But I have the Pacers first, I have the Cavs second, and the Orlando Magic third. The Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, star point guard. They have a lot of depth. Guys like Benedict Mathurin are coming back. They made the Eastern Conference Finals. Don't care that they played some injury-riddled teams. They were able to get there. They got the experience now. They know that their offensive style works, and if they can make more strides defensively this season, they are going to be one of the toughest fucking teams to play against. The Cleveland Cavaliers, after an awesome summer of being able to retain and extend their core four, because, there was a lot of Donovan Mitchell noise there and stuff like that, I think Kenny Atkinson is going to be an upgrade over JB Bickerstaff offensively. I'm expecting a Darius Garland bounce-back season. The Cavs are going to be another team that I think is going to win a lot of games because they have a certain play style, and last year showed that they can get into different types of lineups and styles when injuries hit. And then the Orlando Magic, I have them here as the 7th seed. The reason I have the Magic last here, and I am somebody who has been very high on the Magic and what they have been building in Orlando the last few seasons, I just don't think the offensive concerns have been addressed enough for me. I know they got KCP. That's going to help them shooting-wise, but he still wasn't a high attempts guy in his last season in Denver. And I'm also worried that Paolo Banchero just has too much responsibility playmaking right now. I didn't like that the Magic didn't address at least getting another type of combo guard or a guard that could alleviate the playmaking duties. Don't think signing Corey Joseph was sufficient enough. Maybe Franz Wagner steps into that a little bit more. Maybe Franz Wagner, becomes better as a three-point shooter, because I really think that was another low-key issue no one talked about last year. But the Magic, they're an elite defensive team. They have an identity. They are huge, and they absolutely have the talent to give every team in the East hell. But as much as I am optimistic about this Magic team, I just can't get past the fact that I still have concerns offensively, and the KCP signing just didn't do it enough for me. All right, so this next tier I have, play-in fodder. These are two teams that I think are going to be in the play-in, but are going to be, teams that want the smoke. And this is going to be a little bit of a hot take, and I thought about flipping back and forth, but I'm deciding to stick to this. I have the Atlanta Hawks 8th and the Miami Heat 9th. And I know that flies in the face of what I've been doing the last few seasons now, changing my tune on the Heat and respecting them, respecting the fact that they have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Eric Spoelstra. At some point, this terrible offense is going to catch up with the Heat, and Jimmy Butler's older. Bam Adebayo, still one of the premier centers in the NBA, but I have to see the Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero backcourt and see how that works defensively. Can Jovic take a leap in his third year? Can Jaime Jaquez take another leap? I love Jaime Jaquez. You guys know how high I am on Jaime Jaquez. I made a video about him. Beyond that, the rotation gets a little iffy. And this is where I like the Hawks a little bit more. And I know it sounds crazy because they were 36 and 46. We just saw DeJounte Murray and Trae Young kind of flame out a little bit. They had to say, all right, we did a bad trade. Let's just move on. But I think with Murray gone, it has provided some clarity on this Hawks roster. And I'm looking at this roster. You still have Trae Young, who I think is still a very, very excellent offensive player. One of the perennial sixth men in the NBA in Bogdan Bogdanovic. And they are surrounded by nothing but 6'8 to 6'10 wings and bigs. And let me tell you, I am liking that type of roster around Trae Young. There's shooting, there's ball handling, there's athleticism, there's transition play, and big ball handling wings. Jalen Johnson, I think this is right for him to take another leap because I think he could be a star. The number one pick, Zachary Risache, I hope I said that right. Another 6'10, smooth ball handling wing. You hope DeAndre Hunter can actually build off of that second year where he was really good defensively but hasn't been good since. And hopefully he can combine that 38% three-point shooting he had last year with that and become a 3-and-D player. But you still have Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu, Dyson Daniels, who you got in that DeJounte Murray trade. I think that's low-key a good pickup. Larry Nance Jr., I just like the roster construction of the Hawks, along with Quinn Snyder, who is a very good coach, and I like what he could potentially do with this roster. But with it now being exclusively Trey Show in the backcourt, and then the ball handling and offensive help coming from other spots on the floor as opposed to the same backcourt, I really like this Hawks team. I like, the back end of their roster and their rotation more than the Miami Heat, even if the Miami Heat have top-end talent with Jimmy Butler and Bam. And I know it might sound insane, but I just really think this Hawks team is going to win more games than people think. And to me, it's not crazy to have a universe where the Hawks have, a better seed than the Miami Heat. Then we have our fifth tier, the can we see an actual step forward tier. And we have the Raptors, the Hornets, and the Pistons. The Raptors are the one I am high on the most to come out of this tier because I loved the trade they made last year, getting Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett, both of whom played very well. Hopefully, with a season together and a training camp together, we could see the Barnes and Quickley two-man game form. RJ Barrett continues to play good basketball. Have some interesting bigs with Olynyk and Jakob Poeltl to play some dribble handoff game. I think the Raptors can take another step forward because I'm really high on Scotty Barnes as well. The Charlotte Hornets, I am very high on this team too, even though I probably feel like I shouldn't be. But I just love the collective size of the Hornets, the potential starting lineup of LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Josh Green, Redacted, and Mark Williams. I think the Hornets can at least compete with these teams and compete somewhat with the play-in fodder, but I think they're a young team that can be poised to take a step forward. Will they actually play defense? We will see. And then the Detroit Pistons. Look, this is baked into the fact that they don't have Monty Williams anymore. JB Bickerstaff is a clear upgrade. I am still very high on Cade Cunningham, and I'm looking for him to take a big leap this year now that he'll hopefully be surrounded by shooting and much better veteran offensive players. Still don't think those vets will make the Pistons have like a 20-game improvement or anything, but at the very least, I expect this team to be competent around Cade Cunningham. No more fucking two big lineups with Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. Try to get to lineups where Asar Thompson is on the court playing the four. They just need to find a way to maximize Cade Cunningham this year. That should be priority number one. Last tier, and definitely least, we have the Lotto Material tier. And I have like 3 mini tiers separated in this tier because I think each of these teams has a different level of lottery bad. First, the Chicago Bulls. Still don't love the Josh Giddey trade. Still think it was the wrong trade to make, but you could see a path in which they are the best lottery team out of this bunch because they still have Kobe White, Zach LaVine. You can surround Josh Giddey with shooting, and you can see a pathway where that makes them competitive with the Lotto Material tier and maybe some of the teams in the previous tier, the can we see an actual step forward tier. But I still think this Bulls team is going to be a high lottery team. The Brooklyn Nets, that is self-explanatory. They're kind of in their own separate tier below the Bulls, but they are clearly in this for the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. They did good on getting their 2025 first-round draft pick back. It's going to be a lot of Cam Thomas. Going to be a lot of people gaslighting you into thinking Ben Simmons is back. Nick Claxton is still good. Will Cam Johnson or Ben Simmons start at the power forward spot? There are some interesting players on the Nets to watch, but collectively as a team, they're not going to be really good. I expect them to be completely in the tank by the end of the season, trying to get, the top draft pick. And honestly, the NBA's collective talent has improved so much that I don't even think you need to outright tank. I just think by default, the Nets are going to be one of, the worst teams in the NBA. And then last, we have the Washington Wizards. And I think it's not even close. I think they're the worst team in the NBA. They are finally doing what fans have been wanting this team to do, in wake of trading Bradley Beal a summer ago. Bilal Coulibaly is someone to be excited about. Jonas Valanciunas will provide some bruising nights at the center position. Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole will get into their usual theatrics. So they will still be fun in different ways, or if you like certain players on this team, Want to see how Alex Sarr does. The Wizards definitely have some vets on this team that have, played in the NBA for a bit, but as a collective, I just think this team is bad. And I think with some of the contracts they have on this team, they're going to be sellers at the deadline to collect more assets. So if you just want to rank all the teams combined, I would still have the Wizards dead last.